Good morning, guys. Coach Theo here on Common Sense. Trying to find a nice and quiet little path here in the forest so I can talk to you guys without running into too many people. But it's vacation times now, July, so we should be alright. Today I wanted to talk to you guys about the inner child and the inner parent. A concept I touched on in my video, Stoicism is Emotional Mastery. And someone in the comments asked me if I could elaborate on this. And I've been meaning to anyway. And yesterday I very much had a day when I had to deal with myself and apply this framework of the inner child and the inner parent. So a couple of things before I get into that is that, first of all, guys, this might sound like some kind of psychology terms, even kind of new age spirituality terms. What you got to realize, guys, is to me, nothing I just believe in or follow or apply is something that I just heard from someone else, right? No, if anything, it's that I'm already aware of this, the inner child and the inner parent, but I'm calling it something else in my head. And then when I run into the concept, it's like, oh yeah, that's actually a great way to put it, you know. It's kind of as if you have a relationship with yourself and it's between a parent and a child, right? Secondly, you know, a lot of people assume that someone like me, that I just have my shit together, right? Which is true in some sense, you know, that's the entire story. Used to be skinny fat, hedonist, nihilist, loser kind of guy, you know, and then I got my shit together. But what you got to realize is, guys, that people that are high performing in one way or another, they mostly became that way because they had a shit ton of demons that they had to tame. And even if they tamed the demons, you know, the roots go deep and they can come and run wild sometimes. So my point is that even someone like me, even when I'm doing great, having a good period in my life, which I would very much say I have right now, dealing with Theo is just quite intense, even during those times. So I wanted to talk about yesterday. So let's first talk about, just define the inner child and inner parent. So you obviously have a relationship to yourself. It's just a little bit more hidden in a sense. But you have, in your mind, you have conversations with yourself and you judge yourself and you tell yourself different stories, right? And you feel a certain way about yourself according to the way you treat yourself, just like with any other person. It's just that, of course, when there's someone else, it's very easy. Like, I don't like what he did, or that was nice what he did to me. But it's a little bit more hidden for yourself, but unconsciously, you're very much experiencing it in the same way. And so the way I think of it is that the inner child is the one that feels, you know, they feel and they create thoughts based on what they feel. And the inner parent is that just, they create thoughts based on knowing. It's just that awareness. So we have one that's more emotional and one that's more just like seeing everything. But the thing is that when you're not aware of this kind of split within, they kind of get mixed, right? So yesterday I woke up and I could just tell immediately from waking up that for whatever reason I am not feeling great. I feel some kind of uneasiness, like a sort of stress I can't quite put my finger on. I go up, you know, morning routine, cold shower, stuff I always do, getting to work stuff, responding to clients and some comments on here, YouTube, stuff like that. And then I had some tests, I did some test streams on my PC because it's not been working well and I just want to try because maybe I don't want to stream from the phone. But anyway, I had these test streams and there was this one guy in the chat that like pointed out very obvious things and maybe not in the nicest way. I felt like oh yeah bro, you totally need a new setup. It's like you have one from 2000s or something. And the thing is, I'm live on a test stream, I'm aware it's not working well, you know, and so I responded quite sarcastically. They go, oh, really? It wasn't good? Okay, because I went live, you know, because I thought everything was working great, you know. That's why I call it a test stream. And the thing is, I'm a sarcastic person, so I might very well have said that anyway, but I could tell from the way I was feeling, I was more irritable. I was more irritated by this than I should be. And I can't quite put the finger on it, you know. I go out, recorded yesterday's video. And, you know, when you are someone that records videos, you can be in different modes, states where it works better or worse, right? Like when you're running really high, sometimes I can talk just purely from inspiration. It's like I can almost can't wait to put the camera on. I'm just ready to go. That's a one take kind of video. Then the polar opposite that I haven't felt in a long time, where I feel very introverted, low kind of depressed state. You know, I don't want to even know about the camera, and I will probably choose to focus more on technical stuff. Like, because I can't be as inspired, but I can just kind of list instructions and some arguments for you, right? And then there's a whole lot in between. And many times the typical state is that, no, I am quite inspired, I have quite good flow, but maybe I have time to think about what I'm gonna talk about in the video. So it gets a little choppy. I had to retake the intro sometimes before I get into it, and then I can run on inspiration. Yesterday, I was in such a mixed state, you know. Like on the one hand, I could talk this way, like be present, quite high energy with the camera. Still, there was just some part of me that just like felt like, yeah, it's just a mess here. I don't, you know, and I had to retake the video. In fact, I had to take breaks and come back to it, not only because I wasn't happy, but things came up, but just the way I was feeling, it was so strange, you know. I come in and I notice this, and I am definitely feeling like just uneasy, uncomfortable. You know, I can tell when things that are not supposed to bother me suddenly bothers me. Like, you know, I'm not a very orderly person, you know, so I easily make things a little messy at home. I'm working on that though, too, by the way. I'm much better. I want to say that, guys. No trait. You just are never this. Like, I just am this way. No, you currently function this way. You might have some tendencies to begin with, but you can always change. Even a thing like not being so orderly. But the point is, I'm not a very orderly person, and when I'm just doing well, I'm not orderly because it doesn't bother me so much. That, okay, things are not like perfectly aligned, nice structure and order. They're hanging some clothes there. There's some papers in a bundle over there. It doesn't really bother me. But when I feel like stressed and overwhelmed, for some reason, all this stuff, it's like, all this stuff everywhere, you know, which I never feel otherwise. And also from just being at home by myself, you know, sometimes you just feel it's nice and quiet. But when like the silence is like intense, you know, it feels like intense silence. And I just noticed that clearly I am in some sort of slight fight or flight state. And I start, you know, coming back to the emotional mastery video. Immediately, my inner child freaks out and thinks that this is a problem, the way I'm feeling, because I have all these things I should be doing, and how, like, I don't want to be feeling this way, and how long, and I'm gonna do this thing later, gotta feel better when I do that, you know. But because of the things I've learned recently, like not even recently, but even higher, like the video Emotional Mastery Stoicism is very much a video about stuff I've feel like I leveled up on last year, right? And so I catch myself that, you know, this is not a problem. The inner child, like, catches the inner child there. The inner parent is like, hey, because first, that's what I mean, that if you don't think of it as the double that you have 1 and 2, that the inner parent can kind of, you know, it's the same person feeling the stuff and kind of judging you for it. But now, when I bring awareness to it, I start to not be like, oh, it's a problem, it needs to go away. It's like, no. Okay, you're clearly you're not doing well for whatever reason. That's not a problem. It's like, that's more like poor you. Like, not to go into a victim mentality, but right? It's like, it's not the problem that you're not feeling good. Like, the problem is that we want you to feel good, not that you can't do all these things, right? So I sat down for a bit, because when I had that feeling, really my instinct is I need to get stuff done. Do the complete opposite. Just sit. Like, it's like a parent taking their little kid. It's like, hey, how are you really? You know, what's wrong? You know, let's just sit here, talk, chill for a bit, you know. It felt okay. I think I liked myself for not trying to just push away. I talked about that in another video. How would a child, if they're anxious, nervous, scared, and their parent was kind of like, can you just go away? You know, how would they feel? They would feel even more scared, anxious, and nervous. Like there's something wrong with all of this. No, I felt a bit calmer, like, okay, it's okay, you know. But then I decided I should go out on a walk, get moving a bit. To tell still, the inner child, because the inner child was, one thing the inner child was freaking out over was like not quite understanding why they were feeling this way. But I've been walking it over in my head. Little things like, I've been mentioning this girl I love and have been involved with. We're not together right now, but I've been doing all right about it, around it, because she and I are on good terms. No one hurt the other, but it's still not been easy at all times. And I think I felt a sting of abandonment, the abandonment wound that can be its entire video on its own. But I've done a lot to heal my abandonment wound before meeting this girl, and then in our journey together, for sure. But those things sit very deep. Why it feels so intense. Abandonment wound, to a kid, abandonment actually means death. They can't survive on their own, right? That's why abandonment triggers are so strong. You feel like you're dying, right? But of course, I wasn't full on triggered yesterday. I just think some subconscious things have come up in sleep. And maybe there's a little part of me, it's like, feels abandoned in that situation. And maybe that started all this uneasiness. And then I think it's just my typical thing, right? That making the feeling a problem. And I could tell when I was walking in this very same forest, just in a different place, that, the inner child was feeling as if it's so bad that they're not doing well right now, because all these things I should be getting done, time is running out, and I should have already done this, but now I'm just here and blah, 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 blah. And then the inner parent jumped in again and was like, no, come on, it's like, you're not doing well. That's the key thing here. These other things that might have to get done, well, the key is that you feel good so that you can do the things. So that's always more important. And in fact, even if we wouldn't be able to get those things done, how you feel, we're putting that first, right? Imagine again, like a parent and a child. A child is freaking out, like all this stuff they would do. The parent would they wouldn't see it as a problem. They understand, okay, you're not feeling well and you're stressed over these things, but look, that's not the problem here. We're focusing on you, we're taking good care of you, And so I start to feel a bit better, But I decided, because even though I'm a bit anxious, clearly, I'm very much in my head with all of this, And of course, one of the best ways to get into your body is to train. However, I forced myself to take Monday and Tuesday off my heavy training, just some extra recovery. But I've been meaning to exercise, just not heavy. So I did some mobilities kind of stuff, just some hanging and stretching out shoulders. And then I swung around my mace for a bit. And this actually took me into the body. Now, I was in a good state, and I finished the day with some client calls, and then I felt really good. But you see, guys, yesterday, the first half of yesterday, it was intense for me. It's like, I'm not describing that I was super full on, anxious, freaking out, But it's an intense feeling to go around and deal with. And that's what I mean, people like me that seem to have their shit together, it did not happen for free. It wasn't like I even thought myself after that panic attack phase was that, my shit is just sorted now. No. We peel layers as we heal, but our roots, they're always there. We have to know. And that's what I've been doing throughout these years, right? There's a saying, life can only be lived forwards, but understood backwards. And that's what the initial thing with the panic attacks, I didn't quite understand what I was doing. Then looking back, I saw the changes that happened within me. And I figured out kind of my wounds, where I come from, right? And I realized then later on that, okay, all of this is not just gone. In fact, it will never be completely. Like I say, you peel layers. But the center, we're never going to be finished, where none of this stuff never comes up. It's about getting to know yourself so that these sides, your wounds, your demons, that you mostly tame them and have them under your control, can even use them to your advantage. Like my demon, the fear of not being enough, I've tamed to just do the work for me in the gym. It's like, yeah, you think you're not enough if you don't push it to failure. Well, pushing it to failure, that's what we want for our goals. I just let you run wild here, but I don't feel that way mostly, right? So I use the demon's power to my advantage, but these demons, sometimes, enough pressure in life, enough, the right or wrong circumstances, depending on how you look at it, and triggers. The demon might just come up and run wild again, and that's when you gotta have you're gotta be the good inner parent, your inner child, and take good care of yourself. And I'll end on that note. Someone like myself, It's an intense experience being Theo. Sometimes intensely positive that I think many people don't get to experience, and it's good like that. But sometimes the other way around too. And I've had so few times during these years when I'm like, man, how did I let myself fall so deep? Like sometimes there's not something to be done, but I just decided I'm gonna be so protective over my mental health. Right, I'm gonna prioritize that. I'm not gonna beat myself up for not feeling good, but I should work, you know. No, that's gonna go first, because I know all the work stuff that I stress myself out over during those times, that's gonna get sorted. If I'm good, everything else will be good, right? So guys, I hope this little story about how little Theo was taken care of by Big Theo yesterday help you better deal with your own shit. It's like, yeah, guys, all this becoming the, jacked and stacked solar night gig at Chad. It's like, it's not all about this, like, hard work, discipline, fuck your feelings, just go lift the heavy weights, all of that too. But guys, you're not gonna be Superman. You're not God, You're gonna have these weaknesses and weak moments. So this softer kind of work with yourself is very important too. It's that balance, guys. Don't want to be a complete, just full-on hippie softy, but also not just like, be the perfect mix. Right, guys, please leave a comment. I'll be very curious, as always, hear your thoughts, and and do it anyway. All comments and likes help support the channel as more people find their way here, so it's very much appreciated. I do holistic bodybuilding coaching, getting jacked and stacked, mentally, physically, spiritually, working on yourself, body, mind, and soul. All of this stuff, guys, is part of it. So if you are interested, you can send me a DM on Instagram or email me. It's in the description below, and I'll get back to you, tell you about my different programs. You can support me and the Uncommon Sense channel by, you can buy my bodybuilding book, of course, but also you can become a patron, member of the channel, leave a little super thanks comment. It's very much appreciated, guys, and please subscribe for more content about fitness, fasting, losing weight, building oneself, self-improvement, stoicism, mental health, philosophy, spirituality, mindset. It is a mindset, guys. You're a big guy, but you have a little guy within you too. You gotta take care of the little guy. Peace.